Okay, great. We'll begin the webinar in a couple of minutes. I'll be right back. So just sit tight and watch my chart. All right, so everyone here? Okay, perfect. So in today's webinar, we're going to discuss structure, resistance, and support with Confluence, and I'm going to show you how we're actually, how we actually look through the charts and find structure support for ourselves. Okay. So right now we have a ES 1500 tick chart. The blue background is our trading day. When there's red or black background, that means we're not trading. So we only trade during the blue times. And we can see that, you guys can see that we have the Ray balance on here. Now with the Ray balance, right now what we have it set to is only the major fib levels, which is the 61.8, 38.2, the highs and the lows, which is the 300%, 400%, and so on. Okay, and we also have the Ray trend to give us the trend direction on each current trade. Okay, so let's do some analysis. First of all, this is the first day that we're actually analyzing from. So what we want to do is we want to place support and resistance levels, potential support and resistance levels. So first of all, we're going to turn on today and the day before. Okay, and as you can see, oh, that skipped. Excuse me. Sorry about that, misclicked. Okay, so we turned on today and the day before, and as you can see, we have a high from the down move, we had a retracement, and this put in a high. And we're also going to grab this low as well as a potential structure level. So first of all, we're going to draw off this high, and it's a very good confluence in between the negative 400% of the current day, which is the day previous to this one, and the 38.2% of the previous day. Then we're going to grab this low as well. So from this low, we're going to draw another rectangle, and we're just going to create a zone in between this low in price and the previous day's low as well. Then we're also going to grab, so as you can see, this jump from the 138.2, negative 138.2%. So we're just going to grab a zone from this low to about these lows. So this is how we grab our structure from the previous day. Now let's move on to the current trading day, and so we go past the red, past the blue. And as you can see, even when we're not trading in the red, so as you can see, this high with this fib confluence, this zone is actually extremely well respected. So even if it broke above it, it stagnated a bit down here, it pushed it down, and from this zone it's just jumped back up. Then, as you can see, these the price action is just drawn to these fib levels. So another test is here, then off this one it just jumped up to new highs. Okay, now let's get into the trading day. Okay, so we reached our trading day. What we normally do is we use 0 and 1 quite a lot for the Ray balance. We sometimes go to 2 or 3 just to find more confluence. This sometimes happens when the market's going in one direction continuously, and that price hasn't been reached in a while, so we have to go X number of days back for that. Okay, so now price is starting to settle down. From the overnight, it bounced off again off this fib confluence as well. So you've got a negative 338.2, 61.8, and a negative 361.8. So this is it's a big level right there as well. But we don't have any structure to confluence this with, so that's why we're not necessarily going to use this. This is basically for structure for confluence. Going to drag this over a little bit more. Okay, so moving forward, price is starting to drop, and as it's settling itself for the current day, trying to find the highs and lows for the current day. As you can see, price dropped down. It bounced off a little off that zone that I just mentioned before, so just off this low. But again, we don't have any price structure. This is kind of like a minor structure level. And at least up until this point, it's a minor structure level, so we don't want to mess with this just right now. Then price dropped down, and it came into our price zone. Now this zone is from the previous high, from the previous day, coupled with negative 400% and 38.2 retracement of the fib confluence. And we even have a candlestick pattern here, but I'm not going to go into that right now. So what you could probably do from this sort of situation, we would draw a ray line to actually try to find, oh, not a horizontal. We will draw a ray line, and not an aggressive entry would be when it comes into the zone, you buy or you sell potentially. What we like to do though is we like to use the ray lines themselves and actually draw trend lines for this sort of situation where you're not 100% sure that the trend hasn't changed because it has broken the previous lower low, and it's retesting some structure, so you're not 100% sure that it will drive up from there completely. So we got lucky this time. It actually crossed above and it kept going, and we reached our high of the previous day. It should be 9:30 very soon to get everything settled for today. Okay, price came up, hit the high of the previous day, or at least the zone, and again, that's still not 100% just yet because we don't have that much data look back. The price is driving down, and as you can see, these fib levels, price is really drawn to these fib levels. Okay, sure, Diane. I'll make my fib lines thicker and darker. Is that okay? Okay, so keep going forward. Again, price is drawn to the fib levels, even if it's not 100% exact, but it's drawn to the fib levels. Now we should see 9:30 very soon, and bam. So we have the new levels for the Ray balance. So as you can see, price just keeps hovering at that negative 361.8% and the 61.8% confluence. So from here, we get a potential double bottom. Actually, this is a kind of like a triple bottom at those fib levels, and then a potential 2618 trade. Look at that. So quadruple bottom. Basically, this is an upward wedge, and it has a very high potential of actually spitting up to the upper side. Yep, there it is. Okay, so let's see what other levels we can actually draw from. So we've got this really high level up here. It doesn't have that much of a confluence, but what confluence I really see and like is this high coupled with the negative 238.2% in this sort of zone. You've got three fibs, you've got the high of the current day. This looks like a very good zone or a very good structure level. Okay, so price is getting closer to that. Ooh, price was drawn to the level. We're inside the level. And as we said, we have two potential entries that we use. The one is aggressive. And aggressive, what we say about aggressive means that basically you're waiting for a red candle to close for a sell signal, or a green candle to close for a buy signal. We're not necessarily just entering at market. Entering at market's a little bit ridiculous when it just reaches a potential structure level. And the other option is to use the Ray line, obviously with the RayTrader, and we just got to close below the Ray line, and let's see what happens from there. As you can see, price always drawn to the major fibs, bounces off them, plays around a little, comes back up, hits the high of the day, and wow, it drops, and it drops like a stone. And even after the fibs are broken, as I was speaking about this yesterday as well, even after the fibs were broken, price does come back and try to test them like any structure level. So basically we use these to strengthen the structure levels. Okay, and as you can see, 38.2 and negative 38.2, 338.2. All right, so that's it for this day of technical analysis. Now I'm going to go through another day, and then I can take questions, or I can go through another day after that and then take questions. Depends on what you guys want. I'm just going to continue on these levels because you never know what price is going to do. And these ones as well. And see, just this is very, not necessarily curious, but this is very awesome. See how this price level that we drew from a few days back off the low of that previous day, see how the new negative 161.8% actually popped up in the same zone as well. So this kind of gives it more strength and more potential of becoming an actual turning point when you get multiple days fibs and extensions and all that sort of stuff in the one level. Now, where was I at? Okay, And I said we're done for today. Okay, now let's see what the overnight session brought us. Okay, so see how many times actually price actually jumped from this level. We might even be tempted to call it a major structure level now, seeing how many times price has actually jumped from it. Okay, still in the overnight session. Same as with the slow one. Just got to make sure I don't speak too soon. Same as with this low one, you see it was a new high, then it got broken, became support, got retested, 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 and then retested again. And as you can see, the fibs are still holding. This level's actually still holding. Oh, my bad. Yes, George. The zones I drew are from the prior highs and lows with Confluence from the Ray balance Fibonacci levels from the 0, 1, 2, or 3 days back. Okay, we're still out of the trading time, and then trading time starts. Okay, so moving forward, price is coming back into this zone. Oh, and it completely just obliterated through it. Oh no. Okay, and with this, as I said, we have two potential entry types, which one would be a green bar up, and the other would just be a break of the trend line. And we just broke the trend line, and we're jumping up from that trend line. And then it looks like price is actually dropping down. And see the power of these levels. So price comes up, price comes down, bounces off it, retests it, retests it. Once it's broken, retests it just to confirm, and then it just keeps dropping down. And also see the power of this trend line as well, how even if it got broken, it's still coming down to retest the trend line. Very, very interesting. Will this entry be winning? I'm guessing you were saying from the previous entry. That depends on your stop and target placement. If you want to place your stops, it depends on what risk reward ratio you actually use, because stop and target placement can be too. Again, it's tailored to every single person's risk aversion. So let's just say, for example, we entered, how was this drawn? This was drawn something like that sort of thing. Okay, so let's just say we entered here on this green candle right here. You get two options. Actually, you get multiple options, but in our style of trading, we either place the stop right underneath the candle that we entered from by a point or two, and then we either place the stop in below the lowest low of the current move, and the target we normally take a 1-to-1. So in both of these cases, this would actually have lost. But the previous two trades that we shown were actual winners. But you can't win every single trade. So it happens sometimes. Okay. Now let's keep going forward and see what this day brings us. Do we have any potential structure levels? Oh, okay. We missed this one. Normally when we trade, we actually use, we don't use the boxes. We actually use horizontal lines. So this is what happens when you use boxes. You know, if you have them from way back, you might forget to drag them forward and miss potential trades. Okay, so price came down, hit it, bounced off it. As you can see, it's got a fib confluence of negative 161.8 and negative 138.2. So this was a good, actually this was a very good structure level off the previous structure where it bounced multiple times, and I missed that. So I'm not going to show a potential trade here because even though it would have been, but I missed it. So if I miss it, I miss it, and that's it. Okay, so the entry would have been from that green candle right here with the trend line break. And price moved up, retested the previous level with the low of the day confluence and the 38.2. This might be a good idea for a trend continuation. So, okay, I said I was going to talk about trend as well. I got sucked into technical analysis. Okay, so with the Ray trend, what we use the Ray trend for is do I draw the trend lines using the close or the highs and lows? I tried to fit in as many candles as possible. So it's sometimes it's somewhere in between the high and the low. I try not to use the closes too much, so I try not to have full candles, but the wick has to penetrate it. And how do I use the swing point to draw the trend lines? Well, for these sort of entry trend lines, and then I'll move on to the trend. For these trend lines, for example, I use somewhere in between the highs just to capture as many points. But this is the latest entry. This is the latest move down. So I kind of use the latest move down, especially for this sort of short-term entry signal. I hope that helped. Okay, so using the Ray trend to do trend continuation trades. So you see when price came into this zone, we had a confluence of the 38.2% and the low of the day. Actually, that's the low of the previous day. And price pushed down and then came back up into the mid band to give us more of a confluence. So with this confluence, you can see that you don't even need a trend line for this sort of entry. But let's just use one for continuity's sake. Okay, so that's kind of like that-ish. Okay, so offer, as I was saying, I draw the trend line so that they try to find as many wicks as possible. So this wick right here at the bottom didn't permit me to connect as many wicks as possible. Now, they don't have to be exact wicks. They can be somewhere in between the close and the wick, or the open and the wick, or actually the candle body and the wick. So it actually just has to cross the wicks. And as you can see, this actually gave us a confirmation. It crossed the midline, it crossed the trend line, it bounced off, it gave us a double top before. So this is a good signal where price might drop from. And as you can see, price dropped from there as well. And it broke our, and normally we wouldn't, in this sort of situations, we probably wouldn't take, our first target would be somewhere around this structure level, because we don't want to overshoot it. We only want to use the second target to make sure that it actually breaks the level. In case it doesn't break the level, we don't want to lose anything. Okay, so do we have any structure zones? We've got this one down here that I need to pull forward, and then this one up here. Okay, so price, again, bounced off the 161.8, and this is from the current day, 161.8, negative 161.8 extension. Bounced off it. And as you can see, it came up and hit our low of the current day. From this low, let's turn the RayTrader on. We're in the midline again. We push down. This might work as a second or third push back down. Okay, so let's see. Confluence, yes. Yes, Confluence, but we don't have any structure level at that point, so I'm just going to completely ignore this. It's good Confluence, but if we don't have a structure level, then you can't say for certain. And we can see that. Actually dropped, and it dropped to the lowest low that we just set previously. And then it came back. So see, it broke, came up, broke, and then retest our structure level. Then it kept dropping. And ooh, we're getting into this structure level now. Let's move this. Okay, so we have the structure level. Sorry about that, move the chart by mistake. So we have this structure level. It's got good fib confluence. It's got a negative 200%, the negative 238. Let's turn on a couple of more days. No, that doesn't do anything. That doesn't do anything. No, okay. So that's all the confluence that we've got there. Price is just nipped it. Okay, it drove up a little bit. And we like this structure level. This was tested previously, so this is the structure level again. Then we use the Ray trend. Now we have really good confluence. We've got midline, we've got 161.8, we've got negative 138.2 fib confluence. We've got the structure level. Everything's lined up for this. And if we were to do a trend line entry, we would not have the proper place to draw our trend line from. And this is kind of iffy right here, because the move was so short, the retracement was so short that this kind of makes it an iffy trend line to be drawing. So maybe we could use our aggressive entry, which would have put us short from this point. Came back, and this would have, if we would have used our one-to-one stop or taken our target in the opposing fib level, we would have hit our target. Otherwise, this has bounced off it and continued on higher. Let's see where this is going to. So we got a double top at close to the low of the day and the negative 138.2, triple top, and we're outside of the trading day. Okay, and this is basically how we do our technical analysis and how we use structure with Fib Confluence to strengthen the levels and the ray trend as well to give us confirmation on entry signals for trend continuation. Do you guys have any questions? Or do you want me to run through another day, or let's take questions first. Do I think about trend lines as momentum? Can you? I'm going to say no, but can you explain that? Can you try to explain that a little bit more? Yes, Ron, it is going to take practice. And with the videos, we're going to send out 2 videos today. One is on identifying trend, and the other one's about the confluence I just spoke about. And in those videos, I actually urge you to take 30 to 45 minutes to draw these and literally just sit through the charts and draw these and get used to narrating the chart, basically. So the way I spoke right now, I know it would make you sound loopy, but it helps quite a lot if you just sit there and narrate what the chart is doing and try to say it out loud, not just to yourself. Try to say it out loud, because something that's thrown out loud is 100% more powerful than something that's just said exactly audible. That's something that's just said in your own mind. The trend lines are important because they show you. Okay, so look at this sort of thing. The trend lines are important because we use them as a support and a resistance level, but this is what the market is actually telling you, that it's going in one direction. So as you can see, I drew the trend line here, and this is basically what we call it is oblique support and resistance levels. So as you can see, even if I draw it off these highs, price, even when broken, actually came back to retest it. And obviously this is going to be a zone, just like in anything else. You can't just draw one line. It's really going to be a zone that you could use as a trend line. But as you can see, price is actually coming down and touching it multiple times and then jumping off it. So it is kind of like support or resistance, but it's oblique. Okay, so the rate trend. I'll show you an existing example. I think it was this one right here. Yep, that's the one. Actually, it was the one previous, but we're still in the zone. So with the rate trend, we use the trend direction. So as you can see, price has been moving down for a while. Even if it put in small new highs, this is still qualified as a retracement. It's not necessarily, it didn't break the structure, so it's not necessarily heading up. Then it created a lower low, even from previous structure, and then put in a lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. And we use the rate trend in conjunction with structure and support levels and the Fibonacci levels as well. So as you can see, we have a confluence here of the low of the day, 38.2%. And the previous structure that we spotted a while back, which was here, and this was retested multiple times. And when price comes back and it's a confluence of the mid zone or just the midline, then we might take this as a trend continuation trade. Does that answer your question, Johan? The red and blue zones on the RayTrend VWAP. What do you mean by that, Ron? Can you explain that? What do you mean? What don't you believe, Diane? Oh, okay, yeah. I don't think so, but I want to make sure what Ron is saying. Oh, the red and blue zones, they created by the Fibonacci levels. Basically, all these, from the top to the bottom of this is 48 ticks. We've seen that this works quite well on the 1500 tick chart on the ES. So 48 ticks from the top to the bottom, and each of these zones is 4 ticks. These, what we call these the extreme zones. So when this zone is being pushed down, that means it's starting to trend lower. Okay, good, you got that. I see that Johan was typing, that's why I'm being silent. Any other questions you guys have in the meantime? Yes. RT is just supporting, is just a supporting indicator to strengthen, to add to the strength of the zones. Okay. You're welcome. Bob, are you saying for the RayTrend? Oh, tick chart for NQ. We use the 150 tick charts, and the 48 works on the 150 tick charts as well. But as you can see, NQ is a little bit more chaotic than the ES. Okay. If you start the day with no Ray balance, it makes sense to put only the prior day on the chart so we can see where we've been to determine where we could be going. Yes, that's true. And that's why even if, so before this day is set, where's 9:30? Okay, so before this day is set, you actually don't see the low or the high of the current day. You only see it for the previous day, and that actually sets up those levels from the previous day and the day before that. And then only when 9:30 hits do they actually change to the current day's low and high. I can see that Diane is typing. Again, that's why I'm silent. So in the meantime, while Diane is typing, in tomorrow's session, what we're going to do is we're going to show you, we're going to go through, let me grab my notes. So in tomorrow's session, we're going to cover technical confluence with the ray lines as well. So again, I showed you a little bit right now, but I'm going to dive into it way more tomorrow, showing the trend lines and how we can use those as a confluence to actually enter the trades, and not just the ones below as for entry, but actual trend lines off the tops when we're heading up, or off the lows when we're heading down, to actually try to find the actual turning, the potential turning point of the market. What we use, Diane, so looks like Diane has been playing around with the RayTrader. Diane, what we set, we actually wait for a close below the trend line, not just a touch. I think that's what you're asking, yes? So on the RayTrader, basically, we set it to short and close, as you just said, S and C, and then we wait for it to drop down. Okay, so for tomorrow, sorry, I got sidetracked. Technical confluence, and then the types of trend lines that we can draw. So as I said, trend lines below current price when it's heading up, and trend lines above current price when it's heading up as well, or down. And we're going to go through, after we finish with doing more technical confluence and all that stuff, we're actually going to grab the Ray system, and I'm going to show you the statistics that we have for the past year on the 1500 tick ES chart with the Ray system. And I'll show you a few trades. Cool? Any other questions? Do you guys have any other questions? What's the setting on the Ray trend? I'll show you in just a second. So my Ray trend settings are 48, red, green, yellow, blue, zone opacity 30. And obviously the button colors as well. Does that answer your question, Johan? Okay, so pricing for this. I can talk about it if you guys want. There is no link on it just yet. We were going to release that next week. But if you are eager, the pricing is going to be $9.97 for the entire pack. And in that pack, you get the Ray Trend, RayTrader, Ray Balance, and the Ray Zigzag Trio. And in that, you also get the Ray system, the backtesting for an entire year. You also get the trading plan and 1 month of, yes, one-time license, correct. So you buy it once, you own it for life. And any upgrades that come after, they're yours for life as well. Not new indicators, but upgrades to the indicators that you actually purchased. Can you use it on 2 computers? Let's see the rest of the people, what they have to say. Does license, my setting is the same, but displayed not like yours, very close to the bars. Are you using this on the ES, Johan? Bob, yes, you can use it on two computers. That's a maximum. So your trading computer and your backup in case your trading computer dies. Structure is the same. I just see different times for bars, time zone settings. Yes, yes, that's right. I know on Forex. Okay, so if you're using it on Forex, you gotta remember that Forex recently, about a year ago, added a fifth tick. So pound dollar is not 1.1132 because it's 1.11325 or something like that. So you got to make sure that instead of using 48 ticks, use 480. That's very important. Because of the fifth tick, it actually counts that to the tick size. So you actually have to use 480 instead of 48. Okay, so as I mentioned, okay, perfect, good. Let me know how that goes once you set it to 480. Now, with the upgrades, as I said, you guys get free upgrades. So you purchase once and you get free upgrades for life. Like in the next few months on the RayTrader, we're actually going to add a full suite of trailing indicators. Right now, it's only 5, well, actually 4, because none is really no trailing. But those are going to be made available to you guys the moment we upgrade for free. Of course, any new indicators that come with the suite, with the indicator suite, like we're working on an auto trend line and an auto channel. Those will be extra, and when that happens, we're obviously going to do a webinar about it, and we're going to discuss more. They're still not done yet. That's why. No, I didn't get that email, Bob. Can you try to send that email again, please? And yes, thank you very much. And we'll get a fix to you as soon as possible. It's probably going to be tomorrow or Friday. Okay? Perfect, perfect. What name do you send the recording? I'm sorry, can you try to, can you say that again, please, Johan? Thanks, Ron. Oh, you didn't receive yesterday's recording? We actually sent an email out to everyone. Please check your spam folders if you didn't receive it. Also, if you didn't receive it, all the emails, everything that we do in this course and this 14 days for free, we are going to use the experttradingprogrammers.com/course. Damn it. Let me find it in an email and I'll post it to you guys as soon as I can. Second video. Watch now. So if for whatever reason you don't receive the email, everything that we do is on this link. Okay. Any other questions, guys? Cool. Thank you as well, Raymond. Thanks for joining me. Yeah, without the I at the beginning. So just support at Expert Trading Programmers. Cool. Thank you. Thanks, guys, for your time today. Have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow when we're going to cover Confluence, where we're going to cover more technical Confluence and types of trend lines. Thank you, Diane. I'm glad you learned a lot from me. Have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.